actually is the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet, get an isolation with the linebacker. We tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him, if he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. Text us, 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. If I had to venture to guess, Tim, you're probably happy to be here tonight, ain't you, big dog?
I'm very happy to be here. Yes. Yes.
Seems like that's always the answer we get, man. It's good to see you, bud.
Good to see you too, man. How was your day, Clay?
Oh, it was great, man. We got out and planted a couple of trees on the property. Got us a cherry, cherry willow planted. So it's going to look good with the weeping willows. And, man, it was just a gorgeous day. 15-mile-an-hour wind, about 70 degrees. It was just, perfect, man. Absolutely.
Rainy and cold here in Wisconsin. What are you going to do?
I keep telling everybody it's going to catch up. You guys are going to get it. It's on its way, man.
We'll get there.
Just hold out, man. Hold out just a little bit longer. I know the chat's already on fire in here. Good to see everybody. We got Josh in the house, Greg, Mark Zambito, Margin Cron in here talking about his Ice Venti Mocha. That's what I'm talking about. We got United Bates in the house. We got Coach Lynn. I like this one right here. Got the cowboy hat emoji. Welcome to the chat, Coach Lynn. Appreciate you, bud. M. Smitty, do you rant? Do you rant? New posse member checking in tonight. New member of the PTA posse over at Patreon. Good to have you in here, bub. We got John Capel in the house. We've got Joe G. We got Mark, Doug Pointer, everybody, man. Good to see everybody. So Turtle's back in the house, too. So, yeah, there we go. Let's see. I wonder where Eric is. I wonder where Eric Sutherland is. It's been a minute.
Yeah, where's Uncle Eric? I hope he's doing all right.
He's probably in the clink somewhere. You never know about that guy. You know what I mean? He might be waiting on bail. So,
hey, that's just the way we talk in the clink.
Got Andy Monday in the house as well, man. Good to see everybody. Let's do this, Tim. Let's get it kicked off right. Give a big shout out to our sponsors. Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live, Wisconsin-based since 1992, specializing in Packers tickets, Wisconsin's largest ticket source, got offices next to Lambeau Field as well as in Milwaukee. You can click on the link in the video description that'll send you to theticketking.com where you can register for free as a customer. Get yourself ready for that May schedule release. Grab some Packers tickets this coming season. They're going to be able to save you guys and gals some money over some of the big name companies. So make sure you check in with The Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packers Total Access Live. We always appreciate them supporting the show. So there was a little bit going on the last few days, Tim. Obviously, I went live midday today. It was really cool, man. Had like over 200 people in here watching. We just did a quick mock. My mock got lost in the shuffle somehow, some way when we did our early mocks. And we're going to do another one right before the draft game. But obviously we hit on the mocks from Emilio, Jacob, Tim, and Carly Ray. And we've got those kind of filed away. And then we've got my mock now. So we'll kind of recap the mock that I did earlier. And I want to get your take on it, Tim, see how you feel. I feel like overall the chat they were happy with it. You know, there was a couple times I was faced with some real tough decisions, man. I was struggling. I was just like, cornerback is the big thing, Tim. It keeps popping up. If you don't take a corner with that number 25 pick, you find yourself kind of wandering in the wilderness, if you will, until, you know, a little bit later in the draft. It just seems like number 25 makes the most sense with Kool-Aid McKinstry, if indeed he is on the board. But if you wait beyond that, man, you find yourself in a little bit of a pickle. So
it's so true, Clayton. You know, when you talked about bringing up your draft and kind of going over your draft from earlier today, it made me think of mine. And as you just mentioned with corner, there are things about my draft that, what has it been, 2 weeks, 3 weeks since we did this one?
Yeah.
there's things about my draft that I absolutely love. And then there's things that I don't love, which is, my 88th, 91st picks.
Right.
And, you talk about taking a corner. It's like you're either going to go early or you're going to be picking from the DJ Jameses and the Johnny Dixons, and not a knock on Max Melton. But yes, Max Melton. Max Melton could be on the board at, 115 for all we know, 125.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how much, a week of time can make such a huge difference, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when you really evaluate things, I think you're absolutely right about corner in this draft. Looking forward to seeing what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Lynn kind of agrees. He said corner has to be picked up early or they'll get snatched up quick. It's crazy too, because they're seeing this draft as a corner heavy draft. And there's two ways of thinking about it. Like you can look at it like, okay, go grab one of those, top tier corners early in the first round. But I kind of feel like Goody might be looking at it like this is anytime he says we're deep at a position in the draft, he tends to wait until outside of the first round. Like last year, he talked about how deep the tight end draft was, right? And what did he do? He used the second and I think the third round, right? Yeah. So kind of makes you think he wants everybody to kind of get some of the noise out of the way, and then he can pick from what's left because he feels like it's that deep. But then again, it is lion season, right? Everybody's trying to send these smoke signals. So smoke screens, sure. I should say. So yeah, there you go, man. Andy Monday in the chat said Packers released their offseason practice dates this week. Yeah, we actually hit on that last night, Andy. It's pretty cool, man. We already got that info out there, and excited that pretty much every month this offseason we got something going on with the Packers. So we're going to have plenty to talk about. There's no doubt about that.
Championship offseason, like Preston Smith said, right?
That's exactly right. So Turtles says that's a W mock right there, talking about your mock there, Tim. I've actually got, let me try to pull it all up. It may be a little bit harder to read here, but you guys can see the names at the bottom of each mock there. So the mock that he's talking about obviously is Tim's there on the far right. Jackson Powers Johnson, center out of Oregon at the 25 spot. Tyler Nubin, safety out of Minnesota at 41. Junior Colson, linebacker from Michigan at 58. Max Melton at 88. I would love Max Melton at that spot. I think that feels really good right there. Out of Rutgers, obviously cornerback. He went and got DJ James again, went back-to-back there at 91. Got him. Out of Auburn, you got tackle Christian Jones, which is starting to pick up a little steam. I've noticed that here lately out of Texas. Got him in the fourth round at 126. And then at 169, you got edge defender Braden McGregor. That's one position I did not hit in my mock draft was edge. 202, you went halfback Frank Gore Jr. 219, you went cornerback Johnny Dixon. 245, you went safety Kenny Logan Jr. And then at 255, you went linebacker Jordan McGee. Got a grade of B. Your overall grade of that draft was a B. I think it should be much higher than that, obviously. When you look at Junior Colson, that brung your grade down. He's my best linebacker in this draft. And DJ James, that gave D plus at 91.
That was a reach for sure. The DJ James pick was a reach.
On my board, it really isn't, though, Tim. Definitely on what the database we use, but on my board, I've got him at 67. I'd be jumping over the freaking moon taking DJ James at that spot. So it just all depends on what website you're using and everybody's personal preference and all that. So
it's really telling, though, because my favorite part of the draft of mine were the first three picks. I feel like I smacked those out of the park.
Yeah,
and it's like, but then it's like, oh man, double dip at corner right now while you can.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I would not want Goody's job. I wouldn't. I mean, the guy's, I hope his physical training regimen is on point, man, because the guy's blood pressure's got to be through the roof during this time of year right now, trying to make these decisions.
No, you absolutely know it, man. There's no doubt about that. So that's what So Turtles was talking about. That's a W mock right there. I completely agree, bub. Let's see what else we got here in the chat real quick. Yeah, Mark Zambito, love those picks. Right here, Coach Lynn says might end up reaching if you draft corner after 25. That's probably what it comes down to. You can get great value at 25, or you have to reach a touch if you wait till later. At least it seems that way. There you go. So Let's see what else we got here. Joe G, did anyone watch the UFL today? I actually did, Joe. I thought it was fun, man. I enjoyed it. It was nice seeing football on. I wish they played a little more outdoors. Obviously, the first game was outdoors. It was in Arlington, but I think the second game is played in Detroit. So I'm not big on the indoor football. I don't know how you feel about that, Tim. I want it out there in the elements, man.
Absolutely. On grass, natural surface. Come on now. I'm a purist, just like you, Clayton, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. Let's see here. Doug Pointer says it's a stepped draft, a few A players, a bunch of B players, and a crowd of C players at cornerback. You have to lead with your best card at this position. It kind of goes for all the positions, really. You know, when you think about it, you got to, what are you prioritizing? What's the biggest need? What's the current tier of talent look on the horizontal board? And make sure you choose wisely, right? David James in the chat says, I need DJ James, LOL. Oh, there you go. Got to have it, man. Got to have it. Andy Monday said he likes those picks with the coaching staff. Should gel really well there, according to Andy Monday. And then Prince in the chat said, choice at number 25 may come down to a falling cornerback versus a falling defensive tackle if projections of number of offensive tackles, quarterbacks, and wide receivers slated for the first round is close. It's a good point, man. It kind of depends on which position is going to fall further, right? That's kind of how that's going to lay out there. Here's the mock I did earlier, Tim. And it's funny. I think me and Emilio are the only one that took Jerzon Newton, but Jerzon Newton fell to me as well. I took him with the 25th pick. Again, I had him as the top defensive lineman in the draft. I had him at the number 14 spot. I just couldn't pass up on it. It came down to him, and there was one other player that was right there too. I'm trying to think of who it was. I think it was Jackson Powers Johnson, maybe at 21, and Jerzon Newton was just too much value to pass up on. Now, listen, that doesn't mean he's a slam dunk. There's no slam dunks in the NFL draft. I don't care what anyone says. Now, you got players that grade out significantly higher that you think, okay, you got a less of a chance of them busting out, right? But there's no guarantees with the draft, but you just got to kind of stick to the board. And, you know, the truth is Goody may not even like Jerzon Newton. You know, we don't know. We don't know what his board looks like. I know that's kind of a boring commentary, but I'm not going to be one of those guys to stand on my chair and you know, on the desk and be like, my board is the best, you know, like we're going to find out what these front offices really think about each and every one of these players as we go. But I took Jerzon Newton at 25, defensive lineman out of Illinois. Then I took Tyler Nubin at 41, safety out of Minnesota. That would be your box safety. With the 58th pick there in the second round, I took guard Christian Haynes. So there's your starting right guard. At 88, I ended up going linebacker Jeremiah Trotter Jr. from Clemson. So that'll be most likely your linebacker starting alongside Quay Walker. Then I went DJ James out of Auburn at 91. So there's a outside corner to compete with Eric Stokes, Corey Ballantyne, and Carrington Ballantyne for that corner opposite of Jair Alexander, obviously. Keyshawn Nixon, going to be your starting slot. I think we all kind of agree with that based off of the fact that they gave him $6 million per. They're looking at good value there for a slot corner. They said that Hafley really liked the tape on him when he came in. That was one of the first things it sounds like he really evaluated, was like, yeah, that's who I want as my slot corner. Now, that doesn't mean that if the best slot corner in the draft, Cooper DeJean, falls, right, that he ain't going to take him. That opinion can change quick. If we learned anything about Aaron Jones, Tim, opinions can change really quick, right?
That's right. And it doesn't matter where you're drafted. If you can get in the league and perform, win your starting job and have a great year, hey, more power to you. It doesn't matter where you're drafted.
Yep, absolutely. I took Cedric Gray with 126 out of North Carolina. He's a linebacker, so that would be the guy competing with Isaiah McDuffie, Christian Welch, and our boy Eric Wilson for that third and final 4-3 linebacker, right, in our base defense that we'd be facing 12, 21, and 13 personnel most likely with. This is the new one for me, Tyrone Tracy, running back out of Purdue. He's just someone that I just recently stumbled across, started studying a little bit on him, went and looked at some of the tape, looked at all the grades and everything. Greg Cosell raved about him as well. That's one of his sleeper guys in this draft. When Greg Cosell kind of stands on the table for someone, I'm telling you, he did it for Dontavian Wicks. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like, holy cow, man. He hit on all year long when Dontavian Wicks was just juking people When he was running routes and juking people out of their jock, all I can hear is Greg Cosell saying, this kid gets it. This kid gets it, right? Because he's just a technician in his craft. Saying that about Tyrone Tracy. Tyrone Tracy has played receiver in the past. He was a running back this past year, really stood out. He's one of those that's average draft position somewhere around 170. But according to the PFF big board, I think he's somewhere right around 100, 110. So really good value there for us at 169 in the 5th round. I feel like that's going to give you a receiving threat at halfback if we do go that route. So now you've got Josh Jacobs, who's a pretty versatile back. He can catch the ball well. He can also run with power. He's got the agility, the speed to run outside if you want to go outside zone. A.J. Dillon is your big back, right? Your power back. Emmanuel Wilson's kind of that tweener, and then you go and get a Tyrone Tracy. Now you've got your receiving back, right? Your scat back, if you will. In the 6th round at 202, I took tackle Ethan Driscoll. And round 6, also at 219, I took tackle Andrew Coker from TCU. Ethan Driscoll, by the way, is from Marshall. And then at 245, I looked up, and there's Trayvon Wallace, best on the board. Obviously, he's within the top 100 according to the 33rd team. Now, he's significantly lower on my board, but was still a great pick there at 245.
That's a really good pick.
Yeah, so that gives you a little bit of depth at the linebacker position, and also some guys to help with that linebacker room as far as special teams goes, kick return, things like that. And then with the final pick of the draft, 255, or our draft, I should say, I took Kenny Logan Jr., safety out of Kansas, who actually played a significant amount of snaps in the box as well as the slot. So he kind of gives you a little bit of a safety net there in the slot corner position, as well as that 4th or 5th safety on your roster. So that's kind of how that all shook out for me. Yeah, there was something I was going to hit on here. I'm trying to remember what it was. I was going to just really quick rattle off where these guys hit on my draft board, okay? Again, Jerzon Newton with the first pick. He's 14th on my board. We got him at 25. Tyler Nubin, we got him at 41. On my board, Tyler Nubin was in the 28 spot. So we got him at 41. He was 28 on my board. Christian Haynes, guard out of Connecticut, with the 58 spot. On my board, I had Christian Haynes as the best guard. And understand, some people are going to say Graham Barton's a guard. Some are going to say he's a tackle. Some are trying to push him into that center position because his RAS now skyrockets to an elite status. But Christian Haynes, according to my board, is the top guard. He was 30th overall, right? So, again, 30th overall at the 58 spot. Great value there. Then you go on to Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I've got him 75 on my board. We got him at 88. Great value. DJ James at 91. I have him at 67, so great value there. Cedric Gray, linebacker, I've got him in the 66 spot. Tim, we got him at 126. I mean, he's one of those guys that he continues to kind of bounce around a little bit. Some people's got him sinking on the boards. Other people still got him holding steady. I've got him in the 66 spot. So, and then Tyrone Tracy, of course, just outside of the top 100. I think on the 33rd team, we got him at 169. So just want to kind of draw a parallel there. We got basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys within my top 100 on my board. I felt really good about that. So that's how that mock shook out. We're going to keep that all in the.
I like that, Clayton.
I think it turned out pretty good, man. Again, the reason we do this, guys, it's not, hey, we're bored, let's do a mock draft. It's you try to learn something each time. And the big takeaway is what we just opened the show with, man. If you don't take a corner with 25, you're kind of in no man's land. You've seen I couldn't make it work with the horizontal board until we got all the way to pick 91, right?
Right.
I think you made it work with pick 88, didn't you? So it's right around that same time frame or same spot.
If you're not going 25, right? Yeah, right. Absolutely. So it's like maybe the next mock we do, it's like let's just strategically do that on purpose. Let's pick corner. Let's take who's on the board there, and then see how the rest of the draft shakes up. But I think you did a great job. I feel like you had a little bit more. I had some notes here. I feel like compared to like the draft from mine that we put up, I mean, you addressed offensive line way more than I did, and that's clearly an area that we need to address. And then I feel like you did the same thing with D-line. I didn't take any D-linemen in my draft. You went and got, arguably the best in this draft class. So, I think it's great, man. Looks good. I feel like you covered a lot of needs, and then it was also kind of like best available when you needed to. I mean,
and that's
looks good.
that was really the story with the defensive lineman. You know, if you look up, if there's anyone out there that says we don't need to take a defensive lineman, I can't disagree with it. Like when you look at the defensive lineman, Kenny Clark, $27 million against the cap. Devontae Wyatt, 3rd year, 1st round pick, right? Carl Brooks really flashed last year. You've got there's one more too on the backside there. Gosh, who was it? Well, let's just say that's 3 deep right there. In a 4-3 defense, you're only playing 2 of those interior guys. So you've already got your starting 2, whether it's Carl Brooks and Devontae Wyatt starting alongside Kenny. It doesn't matter which one you pick. You've already got a solid backup there. So I can understand why people would be hesitant on taking a defensive lineman. I just looked up and said, hold up, we're getting a borderline top 10 talent here at 25. I just couldn't pass it. I feel like Ted Thompson would chase me down and slap me in the back of the head if you passed up on arguably the best defensive lineman in the draft. So, and like Coach Lynn said in the chat when we were doing that earlier, he was like, man, you can build the trenches out, keep building the trenches, whether it's on offense or defense, best available, build those trenches out. It's so important, man.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Let's see what else we got here real quick. I think we're pretty well caught up with the chat. Appreciate everybody swinging through, man. We got a bunch of people in there, about 168 watching. Thank y'all for swinging through. Let's do this, Tim. Graham Barton has been kind of the big talk here of lately. I think it was a couple days ago he had his pro day. 33rd team tweeted this out and said, Graham Barton's athleticism is impressive. He's our number 2 offensive guard in the draft. So you see they're establishing him as a guard, right? Now, this was what was really cool. He decided, and people are going to roll their eyes at this, but I think it was a statement. He did his workout with his shirt off, right? He was like, I got nothing to hide. I want you to look at this dude right here, man. We're going to play the video. We're going to show the shuttle, and then we got the 3 cone, okay? Look at this cat. Look how lean he looks, man. That is a big old boy right there. And then, of course, you got the 3 cone. Look at the agility, right? I think this is the 3 cone, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Look at my man, dude.
Wow.
Yeah. You know who he reminds me of, honestly, and I'm not saying he's going to be a Hall of Fame offensive line. He could be. But just the way he's built and the way he moves kind of reminded me of Joe Thomas. Joe Thomas, Wisconsin, back in the day, obviously went on to play for the crappy Cleveland Browns and still somehow, some way made it to the Hall of Fame. You talk about a resume right there, Tim. Someone who plays for the Cleveland Browns and makes it into the Hall of Fame. That's saying something right there. But Graham Barton, man, looking like the real deal, dude. And again, you know how I feel about these workouts. It's not everything, but when you've got someone who's established themselves in the draft, they're on everyone's board. They seem to be holding steady. They come out and work out. You can see this dude's looking lean. His RAS would probably be through the roof for what he did, right? And there was actually someone who added his RAS in as a center because, that's the other thing too. Versatility checks the box too, man. He can play on all 5 positions on the offensive line. Tackle isn't ideal, although if I understood correctly, he played left tackle the majority of the time last year, I believe. So his arm length is a little short for a tackle, but look at this right here, man. Someone put him into the database as a center. It was at Notions of Nick on Twitter. Said Graham Barton has the exact measurables, position versatility, and pedigree that Brian Gutekunst looks for in a player, LOL. Look at him as a center. 6'5", 313. That's elite composite size grade for a center. 40-yard dash, 4.94. That gives him an RAS of 9.78 there. And then that composite agility grade, man. Short shuttle, 4.54, and then that 3 cone, 7.31 puts him in elite status there for a composite agility grade. So, I don't know what he would do with the vertical and the broad. I'm guessing he didn't do that stuff because I looked on RAS's website and it's still not in. But this just shows you it kind of goes hand in hand, Tim, with what people were saying about Zach Tom. Really good right tackle, Pro Bowl caliber guard, all pro center, right? Probably going to get something similar with a Graham Barton if he doesn't bust out. But what do you think about that, man? And if you did draft him and Goody just made the decision, hey, we're just going to put him at center, and then you got a Christian Haynes a little later in the draft, and bang, your top 10 offense, dude, it's set to go top 5 this year, man.
That RAS score really makes you have to, jot this down, make a note, so you're not putting your hands on your face in shock if he becomes a Packer. I think it's certainly a stronger possibility now with the measurables and then the high RAS. We know how Goody likes them, and we talked about shoring up interior offensive line. As much as we talk about figuring out tackle and whether or not we believe Rasheed Walker is the future at left tackle, you still need another tackle on this offensive line. But I think the interior is really where we need to address things sooner than later. And Graham Barton is a monster, man. So I would not be shocked at all. I mean, he could, if he's on the board at 25, I mean, I don't rule that out. I mean, I took JPJ, as a center. It's like if we address center, I feel like that gives you more flexibility with the guys that are flexible. Yeah. You've got a Zach Tom, you've got Elton Jenkins, guys that can move around. You bring in some, high tier draft pick rookies that can play on the inside of that offensive line. We can cook a little bit now.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach Lynn in the chat says Barton is what Goot wanted Myers to be. LOL. I think that's a pretty fair assessment there. Yeah. Let's see here. Brock in the chat says Barton at center and Cooper Beebe at right guard. So let's climb down here and see where Cooper Beebe's falling right now. Looks like Cooper DeJean is actually sitting at 9 right now. Let's see here. As we come across our boy, where's he at? There's Graham Barton. There's Jackson Powers Johnson at 24. Graham Barton at 25. This is PFF's consent or their big board, basically. Okay. As we move on to the second page, you got as far as offensive linemen. There's Tyler Guyton at tackle. So we're looking for Cooper Beebe, right? Let's see where he falls. I'm just trying to see where about he may be taken if this board were to be, completely accurate. He's pretty far down the list. Seems like he has dropped a little bit here. Cooper Beebe from, I think, Kansas State. Is that right?
Oh, don't ask me. I'm bad at that.
Man, he must be way down the list. I'm going to have to sort it by position here. At one point, I felt like he was much higher than this, but I am not seeing him here anywhere. Let's just do it. Let's waste no more time and just go sort it by position. Cooper Beebe, obviously a guard. Maybe we passed him up and I overlooked him. There's Christian Haynes. They got him as the top guard too. The only difference is I've got Christian Haynes at the 30 spot. They've got him at 64. So my board is really big on him. There you go. Cooper Beebe at 126.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'd be looking at him a little bit later there. His 2023 grade, man, he was the 4th highest graded guard in all of college football. He was the 12th highest graded guard obviously in 2022. Look at him in 2021 as well, Tim. 22nd.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that dude.
Wow. Solid.
I see what you're saying, Brock. I wonder just what is keeping him from being higher. On my board, I've got him in the 37th spot. The fact that PFF has him at 126 with him just absolutely killing their grades, it's just strange. It's really strange. 6'4", 335. He's 22 years old. He'll be 23 this coming season. Yeah, I've got him in the 37th spot. I'd be totally cool with that too. Get Barton at center, put Cooper Beebe at right guard. If you can get him, say, in the 3rd round or something, I'd be all right with that.
We got to remember, though, that, Josh is in a contract year here. So, I mean, it's really his job to lose. I just don't want to count on them taking a center super early. I can see them going interior O-line early, but I don't know if I want to get too excited, but I agree with that. That would be amazing, right? Because that basically kind of gives you, I'm not going to say a leg up, but it puts a foot in the right direction, a step forward in the right direction on the inside of your offensive line. And then you've got, like I said, you got Big E and you got Zach Tom, that provides some good anchors there, and you can mix this young talent in there and see what happens as you go. But I don't know. Other than defense, offensive line is crucial, right? For this team to get over the hump and bring Lombardi home, like Coach Len was saying, right? You got to get it done in the trenches. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So Turtles in the chat says Fuaga is better. If you're talking about them Barton, absolutely, man. I mean, everything about him screams that. He's the 12th ranked offensive lineman according to PFF. I've got Fuaga as the second best offensive lineman. 12th overall is what PFF's got him. They got him as the second best offensive lineman too. Again, they've got him in the 12th spot. I've actually got Fuaga in the 7th spot.
Where's Mims at? right now? Amarius Mims.
Amarius Mims. Let's check that real quick. Amarius Mims.
Curious. Oh, there he is. 22. Yeah. Okay.
6'7", 3'4". I can't get over that. 6'7", 340 pounds, man. Just wild.
Let's draft him and stick him out there with Caleb Jones. Just two big towers out there on that line.
So I've got Amarius Mims in the 22 spot. They've got him in 22, so mine matches up right there along PFF's for sure when it comes to Amarius Mims.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where he sits. Let's see what else is going on here in the chat. Doug Pointer. Barton is one of the guys I would pull the trigger at 25 or above, as he will be a 10 to 12-year Packer, otherwise cornerback. Yeah, some of the longevity we're talking about here. And, when I say Joe Thomas too, again, I'm not saying that Graham Barton is a slam dunk Hall of Famer. I'm just saying when you look at how he's built, how he moves, how he carries himself, that's who it reminds me of, right? If there's anyone in this draft that has the best opportunity to be a first ballot Hall of Famer or, like Joe Thomas, it's this guy right here, Joe Walton. Like, that dude is a stud. 6'8", 322. Look at those grades, Tim. Third best tackle, according to PFF. Second best tackle, according to PFF. Measurables just off the freaking charts, too. He's
Notre Dame, so we know you love him, right?
Yeah. I don't care what logo would be next to that dude's name.
But it doesn't hurt, right?
It sure doesn't. It don't hurt at all. If anything, I wish he'd drop a little bit. So yeah, he's gonna be the first offensive lineman taken. There's no doubt about that in my eyes, man. I don't see how anyone can pass up on him early in the first. Like I said, that's another thing we talked about. Maybe a team trades up to try to swoop in and get Marvin Harrison Jr. from the Cardinals. There could be somebody with Joe Alt on there. You know what I mean? That would want to trade up before someone takes Joe Alt at tackle. That's another thing that could really kind of drive the draft as well. Let's see. John Smith in the chat said quickness in O-line is nice. One reason why Kelsey was great, can get to those downfield blocks others can't. Kelsey just played with such control, such balance. It's when you hear Mike Wall talk about how you arrive at confrontation determines how you handle confrontation, you think Jason Kelsey. That dude was just, when he got to that safety downfield, you could tell the safety was like, this dude has got me. Like before you even made contact with him, he was zeroed in on him like a cat. I really, really liked watching Jason Kelsey play for sure. Prince in the chat said left tackle, most important position on O-line, need to address early to backstop Walker. Yeah, and if you unseat him, then you got arguably the best backup left tackle in the game in Walker, right? So it's another good point. J. Cole, go Barton, a cornerback at 41, trade up from 58 for Edgerrin Cooper. Let's look at Edgerrin Cooper because I'm in the extreme minority when it comes to Edgerrin Cooper, Tim. On my board, I've got Edgerrin Cooper as it sits right now. I've got him as the fifth best linebacker on my board. I've got Junior Colson, Peyton Wilson, Cedric Gray, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., then Edgerrin Cooper. But everyone else has got Edgerrin Cooper hands down the best linebacker in the draft. I'm going to pull up linebackers here real quick according to PFF, and let's just kind of see here. Now, they got Peyton Wilson significantly higher than Edgerrin Cooper, like to the tune of almost 40 spots higher. When you look at Edgerrin Cooper's PFF grades, this is the thing that got me. 2021, he was a 64.1. 2022, he was a 66.1. And then all of a sudden, he jumps to a 90.8. It's which is the norm, What if he reverts back to playing in that 66 range and you take him as the top linebacker in the draft, it's a big miss there, right? Especially when you got someone like a Peyton Will. Like if you remove the names, let's do it this way. If you remove the names and you just looked at the grades, right? Who would you be more excited about there? You would probably be more excited about Edgerrin Cooper. You really would, right? Over Peyton Wilson. But when you look at the Peyton Wilson's measurables, right, from the combine, which you guys know how I feel about that. I don't think it's as important as most people do. He just jumps off the freaking page, right? On top of that, Peyton Wilson got some injury history too. But again, PFF kind of going against their grades just a touch and putting Peyton Wilson significantly higher. Now, when you look at Junior Colson, compare Edgerrin Cooper and Junior Colson here. Obviously, the 48 on 521 snaps, that's ugly. Then he jumps to a 75.5, right? then goes to 81.7. So you see a significant increase, this steady increase every year, as opposed to 64, 66, then bang a 90, right, with Edgerrin Cooper. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the one, though. If he was 6'2", I think it's the best linebacker in the draft. I believe that.
That's really the biggest knock on him, right? It's just the size.
The only thing I can find, man. It's the only thing I can find. Yeah. So 2021, 71.4, 2022, talking about Jeremiah Trotter Jr., 86.9, and then in 2023, 85.7. Someone's going to get one hell of a linebacker, and it's probably going to happen, 3 or 4 linebacker picks into the draft. That's what it kind of seems like there. So I really like that pick that I was able to nab Jeremiah Trotter Jr. a little later. I was okay with missing on Junior Colson at the time. So, that's how that sits. And again, Junior Colson, I've got him as my top linebacker. And I think a big part of that, too, if I remember correctly, was actually the consensus big board. And again, I got Junior Colson in the 50 spot. Yeah, the consensus big board early on had him in the 85 spot. And the big outlier here, the big thing, is the 33rd team has him as the 35th best prospect when I compiled that data, right? And then Daniel Jeremiah has him at number 45. So that's kind of how that falls into place. Let's see what Daniel Jeremiah had to say about Edgerrin Cooper. So he had Edgerrin Cooper in the 20 spot, but the 33rd team has Edgerrin Cooper at 126. So the big thing that hurts Edgerrin Cooper on my board is the 2022 PFF grade and the 33rd team's grading of him. That's the big thing that knocked him. But yeah, so Daniel Jeremiah definitely sees Edgerrin Cooper as a significantly better linebacker there, no doubt about it.
I got a couple in the chat from Deadfish if you want to pull them up.
Go right ahead, buddy. You pull them up, man.
He's just asking about is Jeremiah Trotter Jr. a Mike linebacker?
Mm-hmm.
And also, kind of hand in hand, who's the best Mike in this draft, do you think, right now?
It's a great question, and it depends on who you ask, Deadfish. Everybody's got their own opinions, right? According to PFF, you'd have to go to the grades, right? Like the weekly grades, and to see where they actually lined up at. I don't think I can get to it from this screen. I might be able to right here. This may throw us completely off here. Yeah, it's going to open a separate window.
Okay.
That's all right. I'm going to try it, though. Let's see if we can go by position. No, let's go by team. Let's go by team, and it was Clemson, right? So let's go Clemson, and then we'll try to find Jeremiah Trotter Jr., just the regular season. We'll key in on that, and let's go with defensive grades, if I can find it here. Yeah, it's going to take forever to try to filter through this. That's going to be darn near impossible. The big thing about Mike, really what you've got is Mike and Will. Sam, people talk about Sam backers like they're really common, like, oh, this guy's going to get up on the line of scrimmage. He's going to basically act as an edge, but he can also drop into coverage. You just don't see that often with these Hafley style defenses. And what I mean by that is the Jets, when you looked at the tape, and we pulled it up, Tim, we showed it here on Chalk Talk that one day. When you look at the Jets linebackers, they had 3 stacked backers playing back, right? They used a 4-man rush, and they had 3 stacked backers. San Francisco did the same exact thing. You didn't see that like traditional Sam. So when you break it down to a Mike and a Will, what it comes down to is your Mike has to be able to play in 2 different directions. He's got to have really good gap integrity. Your Will backer is more of that athletic backer that's going to be able to chase down the cutbacks off the strong side, right? So he's playing on that weak side. He's typically more athletic, but if you go to San Francisco, Fred Warner played Mike, right? And that's what we really got to go off of. New York Jets and the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers, when you think Mike linebacker, you think Fred Warner. He's arguably the best Mike linebacker in the league. If you go to the Jets, you think C.J. Mosley. So when you look at Jeremiah Trotter Jr., you don't see him kind of playing that type of fit. He's significantly shorter. In both of those defenses, all the Mikes reached at least 6'2", right? So that's kind of ideal. So he's significantly shorter. And you could see the Will backer in both of those defenses were significantly shorter. For example, Quentin Williams, right? Quentin's brother. I think his name is Quincy Williams. Quincy Williams, Quentin Williams' brother, who plays Will linebacker for the Jets, he's 5'11", right? So to answer your question, I think that Jeremiah Trotter Jr. would be more of a will than a Mike. So when you look at it from a standpoint like that, we have backed completely out now. This is absolutely lovely. Go back into the backers here. At least we got a NASA computer to get us back there quick.
Damn, look at that.
Let's look at the height, okay, to answer your question here, Deadfish. Peyton Wilson, again, what was the big thing on him according to the 33rd team scouting report on Peyton Wilson? High football IQ, crazy athleticism. That suggests can play in both directions, right? With your Will and your Sam backers, and there's still a Sam even though they're not mugging the line of scrimmage, right? It's still a strong side backer. That's referred to as a Sam. Your Mike backer needs to be able to play, sideline to sideline. He's got to be able to read and recognize, got to have a high football IQ. That sounds like Peyton Wilson. So in this draft, it sounds like Peyton Wilson might be the best Mike. He's 6'4", more than exceeds that height that you need, right? Edgerrin Cooper, 6'3". You've got the height there, right? Yeah. Junior Colson, 6'3". You've got the height there. It doesn't mean they won't play Will, right? But you definitely got the height there. My guess is if the Packers find themselves in a situation where they're going to draft a linebacker, if it's Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, or Junior Colson, there's a significant chance they could play Mike, right? Peyton Wilson, I think, is a slam dunk to play a Mike. I could see them keeping Quay at Mike and playing an Edgerrin Cooper or a Junior Colson as the Will. I could see that in the nickel set. But if you draft Jeremiah Trotter Jr., probably just going to be a Will, Right. When you move down to Laufau, 6'2", he kind of meets the requirements. Tommy Eichenberg meets the requirements. Cedric Gray, who we took later, meets the requirements for a Mike. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play Mike. So I think that according to the scouting reports, read and recognition, what they call FBI football IQ, Peyton Wilson's probably the best Mike in this draft. That's kind of what it feels like on the surface. Now, you get them into camp, though, Tim. Throw the playbook at them and people separate themselves. You never know. Junior Colson or Edgerrin Cooper might just emerge, with way more football intelligence than Quay Walker, and they pop him into the mock. Could happen.
Absolutely.
And you see some of these other linebackers, J.D. Bertrand, as you get later, 6'1", 6'1". These are kind of wills. They feel like wills. Jalen Ford could potentially be a mock, but you get that late in the draft, you're not trusting them to be the quarterback of your defense. That's the other thing to take into consideration too. Like you could tell last year, I was kind of surprised by it. Even when Devondre Campbell was healthy, they kind of just kept the green dot on Quay and let him play Mike, and they moved Devondre around a little bit. It feels like they want Quay to be a Mike. It really feels like that. Now, athletically, obviously, Quay's an athletic freak. He kind of fits the athletic profile from a talent standpoint as a Will backer. Let him play free, because what you do with a Will and a Sam is they're just playing half the field, right? They're playing their half and they can play fast. That Mike's got to be able to play both sides constantly. So,
what do you think? What do you think about Zay McDuffie at the Mike? Like Cody's saying here, he thinks McDuffie's probably the best Mike fit right now. I don't know if I'd go that far, but I don't think it's not that crazy to see McDuffie as a Mike, right? I mean, he'd be on the smaller end or shorter end, much like we were saying about Trotter Jr., right?
Yeah.
I think McDuffie's like 6'1", 6 feet, 6'1", something like that.
I'm going to pull him up right now. That's a great question. I'd like to know that too. Let me see if I can get to the roster here real quick and find that for y'all. On the surface, let me ask you this. Who do you see wearing the green dot, Quay Walker or Isaiah McDuffie? Because I kind of see Quay.
Yeah.
So that, to me, on the surface, and again, that's just a very, very surface answer there. But it kind of feels like Quay would edge him out over the Mike. But let's go to McDuffie real quick. And let me see if I can get it on screen for you guys so you can see. I'll just read it off. That way we can keep the draft information up. When you go to his weekly grades here, I think I can pull up his weekly. God, man, I don't know why they do it like this. Crazy. They make you kind of start from scratch after you already had him pulled up here. I want to see his weekly because that's where it shows where he lined up. So looky here, Tim. Holy cow. Last year, played in week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, obviously a bye in 8. He played in every game this year other than week 13 and week 8, whichever one of those is the bye and the other isn't. Played in every game. Total snaps, 19, 2, 37, 46, 60, 39, 54, 58, 20, 71, 40, 50, 15, 16, and 24. He played Mike 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those, 11 of those games. He played Will. What would that leave us? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 different games he played Will. So he was technically the Mike, not wearing the green dot. So I don't know who asked that question. I can't remember who asked the question, but whoever did, there you go, man. That's a great question. Good information there too. Even though he technically wasn't lining up as the Mike in those situations, obviously Quay was on the field the majority of the time, if I remember correctly. With Quay on the field, Quay's wearing a green dot, but he was technically playing Will. And they were kind of putting McDuffie probably more on the strong side in nickel sets, and PFF refers to them as Will typically, right? But technically it would be a Will backer with – that's where you get into kind of splitting hairs too, man. You know?
And we've also cleaned house on our defensive staff too, so we could see a lot of changes here with, green dot assignment and Mike versus Will. Who knows what Halfley's got up his sleeve,
That's why I find myself looking at the Jets and the 49ers going, what's this going to look like? What exactly is this going to look like?
Yep.
So let's see here. Coach Lynn said McDuffie with the green dot would allow Quay to just play fast and not think so much. And Coach Lynn, many people were saying that too. Just put Quay on the weak side and let him eat. Just let him play free, right? Even better if you do have a Peyton Wilson or someone fall in your lap, throw the green dot on him and Quay can play. And now you got a couple of physical freaks out there, right? I mean, Peyton Wilson, what he did at the combine, it is impressive. It is. I just try not to fall in love with that stuff. And that's why I don't allow it to affect my board. But even with that not affecting my board, I've got Peyton Wilson as the 63rd best prospect. Obviously, PFF sees him a lot higher. Let's see here. Joseph in the chat said, Dre made McDuffie look better than he was last year. I like having him as a depth piece. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the defense plays without Dre, because Dre made it sound like on his way out it was everyone else's fault. And he's the only – anytime something went right, it was his doing. That really disappointed me because I always liked Dre. It was just weird, man. Like some of the comments he made, you guys know on the pod, I tried to steer clear of it. But it was just constantly, like that whole barrage of tweets he put out was the only reason I won all – or first of all, when he won All-Pro in 2021 under Joe Barry, he said, the scheme finally used me the way they should. Everywhere I played, they haven't used me the right way. And then when he takes a step back, they're not using me the right way, right? And then when you point out, well, the tape is showing this, someone on Twitter did that. Oh, that's because J.O. didn't play the right spot. It's like he literally threw the front office under the bus, Jonathan Owens under the bus, Joe Barry under the bus, the Atlanta Falcons under the bus, the Arizona Cardinals under the bus. It was just everybody. Anytime something's went right, it's because of me. And anytime something went wrong, it's because of someone else. Is basically what he was saying. It was just disappointing because I really liked Dre. But I know Brian Bulaga, he went off on the Homer Hour. He was just, you don't hear Brian Bulaga get upset very often. He was really disappointed. Like, what in the world are you talking about, dude? This is as bad as it gets. And now it's time to put up or shut up. You're going to see what he can do in San Francisco, right? Is he going to blame them if it goes bad?
Yeah, good luck with that in that linebacker room out there, right?
Could you imagine him pointing fingers at Fred Warner? Okay.
Yeah, that'll go over real well.
Good luck with that. That's an interesting take there. Coach Lynn says McKinney with the green dot.
From the back end of the D, huh? Okay.
I would love to know if anyone in the last 5 years, other than a linebacker, has wore the green dot. I'd love to know the answer to that question. I think it's a no, but I could be wrong. I'm so caught up in the Packers, I really don't look around the league at all those little details, right? So
you think that would be pretty tough for the last minute communication, right? Like adjustments from the back end of the defense like that. Usually being, in the middle, you can adjust the line. You can look over your shoulder at your secondary and make adjustments or calls. I think it'd be really hard for McKinney to get a call into Kenny Clark or something on a play from the back of the defense.
Yeah, definitely. Mark Zambito in the chat says McDuffie played for Halfley. That's another great point. Just like Halfley comes in and sees Keyshawn Nixon on the tape and said, hey, I like him as my slot corner, he may have said, hey, yeah, Duff's my guy. Tim, wouldn't it be hilarious if we go through this entire draft, we don't draft one linebacker, and it's just Quay and McDuffie this whole time? Like Eric Wilson kind of playing the other linebacker position, pick up an undrafted free agent or two, roll them on and off the practice squad, and you kind of got Christian Welch there to help with free agent or with free agency, with special teams. Of course that would happen, right? After we're sitting here and talked about all these linebackers.
That would line up with my feeling that this is the year that Quay is going to pop, year 3, I think he's going to make that leap, Yeah, I really do. And if we get that monster leap from Quay Walker here, that's going to make things real interesting in the middle. Certain, like you said, once camp starts, man, roles start to define themselves based on work, based on, how you're learning this new system with Halfley here. Who's grasping these concepts quicker and who's executing. And, Quay's been here a couple years. I'm sure a lot of the guys that have been here are looking forward to, a new look defensively. And maybe there's some truths in there with what Dre was saying about, personnel decisions and things like that on defense, and that some guys weren't being utilized to their best potential, put it that way, as we see Darnell Savage go to Jacksonville and immediately become a slot, right? And we spoke for years about putting Darnell in the slot possibly to address that issue, and it never happened. So there could be some truth in there, but I'm just looking forward to see what, camp is going to be put up or shut up time and go out there and win that role that you want in this defense. So all eyes on Quay Walker, man. He's the X factor when it comes to the middle.
Yeah, definitely. John Smith in the chat says, wow, crazy. Devin White signed for 1 year, $7.5 million. Just looking at free agent linebackers right now. Yeah, I was never big on Devin White though. I feel like he underperforms so bad. John, I'm not
$7.5 million though.
Yeah, I'm not accusing you of this, John. Okay, but many people, I think, look at the Madden grades and they go, Devin White's a stud, because they got him ranked really high according to what people are talking, because I've seen the Madden screenshots and everything. If you go to PFF, and this is kind of how I've always seen Devin White, he's very, very physically talented, I guess you could say. He's 6 foot 237, so he doesn't have that ideal height. He was the 5th overall selection. Here are his PFF grades since he's been in the league: 51, 48, 35, 43, and 47. Like I pause for dramatic effect. And again, I don't look at him and go, man, that's a Fred Warner type, right? And obviously $7.5 million. And I think it was Philly that signed him for that. I think you really overpaid there. I really do.
Overpaid for good, right? You don't want to you overpay for great, but not overpaying for good, right? I get it.
Exactly.
I was just thinking kind of like he was someone who was on my radar, even when we were talking about possibly bringing like a Bobby Wagner or somebody in as kind of just some patchwork here for a year. So, I mean, best of luck in Philly, right? Everything happens or doesn't happen for a reason. So I can't wait to see who ends up in the middle here for us.
Definitely. Joseph in the chat says, I haven't heard you all talk about Darius Robinson when I've been on. What's your ranking? He's a freak of nature, can play up and down the line and standing or hand in the dirt. He's one of those guys that I remember Jake talking about. Everyone flipped out at the Senior Bowl. Like, he impressed the heck out of everyone. Someone actually mentioned that he had the same measurables as J.J. Watt. Like, everyone was comparing him to J.J. Watt. Now, some people see him as an edge, a big body edge. Other people see him as a defensive lineman, like an interior defensive lineman. This will be our last question. We'll get out of here. Let me tell you where I've got Darius Robinson, because I'm not as big on him as most people. Let me see if I can find him. He should be in the green on my board here. Surely he ain't there. If he's that low, that's absolutely wild. Where is he at? No, he can't be that low. I'm down in the 200s. Let me start over. Give me just I'm glad you asked this question because I'm eager to see where he falls on my board. It's just this spreadsheet is so small, man. It's there we go. I've got him in the 46 spot.
I was going to say he has to be top 100.
Yeah, I've got him in the 46 spot, and I've got him. He's listed as an edge on my board, but like I said, he can play on the interior as well. I think people kind of see him as that J.J. Watt. You could put him out there in a 7 tech, and you can also squeeze him in on a 3 tech type guy. But ideally, probably put him in a 4-3 defense and play him off the edge. Now, when you look at our 4-3 defense, you got Lucas Van Ness, you got Rashawn Gary, you got Preston Smith. You kind of feel like you would want to play him on the interior to maximize what you get there, Joseph. But again, yeah, I've got him in the 46 spot. Let's see where PFF's got him real quick, since we're already on the subject here. Go to the linebackers. We'll exit that off. I'm sure they've got him as an edge as well. We go to edge defender. They have Darius Robinson in the 44 spot, so just 2 spots higher than I do. You see significant increase when you look at the grades: 68, 77, 83, 6'5", 296. Not an ounce of fat on him, dude. He's just built like a Mack truck. There's no doubt about it. So that's where he sits currently, according to PFF and according to my big board as well, there at 46. Yeah, and as far as how I got him at the 46 spot, he graded out as the 107th best edge defender in 2022. In 2023, I think he was 51st. When I compiled the data, keep in mind this is before the Senior Bowl. This was before, it might have been actually right after the Senior Bowl, but the consensus big board hadn't adjusted yet. This is definitely pre-combine, and I did that on purpose, obviously. He was in the 118 spot. So since we got the measurables, he's skyrocketed, right? So he went from 118 to wherever he's sitting on the consensus big board now. And the 33rd team has him in the 42 spot, right, which kind of checks out with where we've got him at. And Daniel Jeremiah has him in the 32 spot. So 10 spots higher, 12 spots higher, 14 spots higher than where I've got him. So he checks out.
For the record, I love what's going on right now on the screen. Adisa Isaac, Darius Robinson, Chop Robinson.
You can never
any
have
of those names. I'll be happy.
Yeah, and that was one of the people in the PTA posse here on our chat that we've got. The Patreon chat's really cool, man. I'm excited about everybody jumping in there because it's easy to kind of keep that conversation going. I want to give credit here. It was CJN, the user CJN, member of the posse there on Patreon. His guy that he wanted to see more of was Adiza Isaac from Penn State. So that was kind of one of his guys. Let me scroll down just a touch so you can get a little bit better look at him. 6'4", 254, 63 PFF in 2022, jumped all the way to 81. You see a big increase there. He's only 22 years old. I think I've got him higher than Darius Robinson, I believe, maybe on my board. Let me see if I can find him real quick. I feel like I had a pretty good grade on him. These eyes. Now he must be a little bit lower. Let's see if we could find him real quick, and then we will honestly, for sure.
Thought you had him in the 60s or 70s. I could be wrong.
And he may have dropped here recently. Everybody's shifting around as I'm putting the rest of the information in. Where is he at, man? Yeah, I thought he would be in the top 50. Man, I'm getting old, Tim. These spreadsheets. There he is. He's actually significantly lower. I've got him at 142.
Holy cow!
Now you know why? Ask me why, Tim.
Why,
so,
Clay?
606 in 2022, he graded out as the 606. You see it right there on the screen, 606th edge defender. Right, that's significantly lower than obviously he jumped up there to 67. The consensus big board had him at 63. The 33rd team has him in the 50 spot. So the only thing that's dragging him down on my board is that pretty bad 2022. Right, took a big step. My board is very conservative in that regard. Like, I need to see multiple years for you to be like a slam dunk top of the board guy. It doesn't mean you're not going to be a great pro.
He could be one of those players though, Clayton, that depending on where he gets picked and where he ends up playing his first couple of years could really impact the type of pro that he becomes, If he ends up in the wrong system somewhere, he looks like a guy on the rise if you're just looking at the numbers, right? Took a big leap last year. You get him in a good system with a good DC and develop him, He could have a great career, or he could be someone we're not even talking about a couple years from now. You never know.
Yeah, we're going to find out, though. And he is a redshirt senior, too. Now, still only 22 years old. He'll be 23 this coming football season. Got 2 more chats here. We'll get out to him. Doug Pointer says, Clayton sold me a little on Trotter being surrounded by football his whole life and being very instinctive and educated at the position. And it's like the PFF grades, Doug. They kind of line up with that. You see him; he's steady the last 2 years. He being Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Obviously, being around his dad playing football at the pro level, I'm sure you've seen firsthand what it takes to be a pro. Right? I think that stuff matters. Me personally, it's one of the reasons why I'm so hesitant on Caleb Williams. I could care less about the nail polish and all the flamboyant. I could care less about that stuff. But when you look at what he's done, how he carries himself, his dad in the background, they're saying he's kind of likes to be involved. And it's just like, this feels kind of like he's either going to be a slam dunk top 5 quarterback for the next 10 years.
Marcus Russell all over again.
Exactly. That's kind of, people forget about Jamarcus Russell. That dude was throwing, 75 yards from his knees? Yep. And everybody's like, oh, this arm talent. Next thing you know, that dude's out of the league, bro.
They disguised one coverage on him, and we saw the truth.
and that's the big thing about, the positive on Caleb Williams is he can play off schedule. When things break down, man, he can make magic happen. The negative is he hardly ever plays on time. You hardly ever see him 3-step drop, let it rip. He read the defense, know exactly where we're going with the ball. He's always looking for that deep shot. Ryan's pod the other day really opened a lot of eyes, I'm sure, because he broke it down like there were multiple quarterbacks last year that was ahead of Caleb Williams in every statistical category. Now, granted, it's just 1 year. He won the Heisman the year before. But again, when you see him, what makes you think he's that guy? It's the off-schedule stuff, throwing off the back foot, just making magic happen. It's a little harder to do that in the NFL. It really is. You've got to play on
with the Bears too.
You better be able to play off schedule with the Bears because you're going to be running. I promise you that. Final one here. Deadfish in the chat said, Clayton and Tim, thanks for answering my question. Seems like Quay plays the will. Draft Peyton Wilson, Edgerrin Cooper, or Colson to play the Mike. Then who plays the Sam that will be off the field in nickel? Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, right? We'll see how it all shakes out, man. Draft's going to be a blast. I know that. I can't wait for it to get here, dude.
We could see linebacker by committee too, for all we know. They could just stack. They could just load up and see how camp goes. And yeah, we know we've got a couple consistent names there, but I mean, they could be plugging and playing left and right and in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. Chris Nye in the chat says, well, thank you, Clayton. Glad you like my choice on page. See, I'm trying to figure out who is who. Like that's CJN, obviously, on Patreon. So I'm trying to figure out everybody's got different names. They got a different Twitter name from their YouTube name, from their Patreon name. So who? Exactly. I can't even remember my dog's name, much less 3 different names for each person that we communicate with. But yeah, I like that format that we're using too, man, for sure. So yeah, see AFAM trying to get trouble started. He said Clayton gives him a negative grade for the nail polish. Damn you, AFAM. No, dude, I could care less. Now listen, do I think it's a positive? I don't, because it draws attention. It doesn't matter what it is. Like when you think of the great leaders in the history of the game, you don't think of guys that are, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. First person I think of is Johnny Manziel, right?
Yeah.
That's all he ever did is, Money Manziel, right?
How'd that work out for him?
Yeah, exactly. It just kind of feels like that,
Yeah, I like more of the Barry Sanders style of leadership.
Yeah.
Act like you've been there before, right?
Yeah. Let me put it this way. The Bears pretty much being a slam dunk to take Caleb Williams, the more time goes on, if you'd asked me a month ago, I'd be going, man, this sucks. They're getting a heck of a talent. The more that time goes on and he keeps drawing attention to himself and everything, I find myself going, I like the way this is working out. I really do. You've already got 2 teammates that stepped out and spoke out on him.
Yep.
Like Jalen Johnson, who they just threw the book at, right? They just signed him to a long – didn't they? I know they franchise tagged him, but I think they ended up working out a long-term deal, like a 4-year deal. He said, don't bring that Hollywood into the locker room.
Yep.
So you've got these people on Twitter, these podcasters on Twitter that are like, oh, this doesn't matter. You're being a bigot. You're being this. It's like, no, you've already got people in the locker room going, hey, leave that stuff out of here. That's what we're talking about.
Yep.
That's what we're talking about the locker room. And it's
and any knocks that we're addressing on him or any other player is the play, not him as a person.
Absolutely.
We're talking about football here.
Yep.
If you're worried about fingernail polish, you're not thinking about football.
Yeah, and AFAM was joking, by the way.
No, for sure.
It was tongue in cheek. Him trying to put me on the spot there. He knows what he's doing there. He sees Twitter right now. So, yeah. But he's going off in the chat. All right, we're done here. I love it. Yeah, Coach Lynn nailed it. I like the Jordan Love type leadership.
Yep.
Amen. That dude is just, again, even keel, quiet. A quiet leader. Teammates know he cares about them. It's not about him. It's about, hey, let's go win some freaking ball games. Let's keep it the light shine on the team. Anytime they do something good, you don't hear Jordan say, yeah, I seen this. I did this really well. It's always Aaron Jones picked up the block. He was shutting down Micah Parsons. Look at Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's a dynamo. He always leadership 101, man. You absorb criticism and you redistribute praise. That's the way it works. And Jordan Love does that better than anybody, man. That's why I think he's going to get the bag, and I think he should, man. I'm excited about it, seeing that dude get paid and rewarded for sitting for 3 years, waiting his turn, and then just coming in and absolutely lighting it up and doing it with class. So there you go. All right, let's get out of here.
10-year deal, Clayton.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you, but I think what it's going to be is a 3 to 4 year deal. That's how good he operates. It'll probably be a 4-year deal, and if it comes in less than $50 million per average. And again, the guaranteed money is the most important aspect to determine how you can move stuff around. But as far as cap hit, but if it comes in less than $50 million, Tim, what a team player, because what he did the second half of the season warrants top 3, top 5 quarterback money. If he comes in less than $50 million, then I'm considering that. Listen, it's still a lot of money, but I'm considering that kind of hey, that dude cares about building the team around him.
Oh yeah. I think he wants Lombardi home more than anything.
And if
hey, that'll get you a new deal, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Bring a Super Bowl home.
Now, if he lands a $60 million per on average, I'm not going to sit here and go, Jordan Love's selfish. You got to get what you got to get, man. That's the business. You guys have been around long enough to see. I kind of side with the players more than anything now. If you'd have asked the knucklehead Clayton 10 years ago, I'd be going, these selfish pricks. Yep. They need to play under. And I was an idiot. I was a moron. So you look at it from the player's perspective, you got to see it from both sides. You really do.
For sure.
All right. We're out of here, Tim. You got anything else, bub?
No, I was just going to ask you.
Who in the hell is Mel Kiper, in a way?
We're going to continue to ask that until the draft gets here, I promise you. Again, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon members. We appreciate them jumping on board. I've already exited out of the screen here, but let me pull it back up real quick because we appreciate you guys and gals supporting the show for sure. It's a cool little community that we're creating in there for sure. Let's see. We got Joe Stadler, Doug Pointer, Ron Samble, and Allison Tuckwab joining as PTA Posse members over on Patreon. Again, the link is in the description. If you guys want to hop in there, that'll get you into some of the giveaways. We're going to give away an autographed Paul Hornung jersey, round 1 of the draft. There on Thursday night when we go live for the draft. We'll make sure we give that away about the halfway point. We're going to do some fun stuff and make it really, really interactive for you guys in the live draft. Watch along or what have you. So, yeah, with that being said, hope everybody has an awesome Easter. We'll probably be live at some point tomorrow. I'm not expecting Tim or anyone else to be on here with me. I'll let them know if I'm going to go live. And if you're free, you can hop on. It's totally cool. But I'm going to try to go live at least once tomorrow when I get a little bit of time. I think I got all the work done around the house. So we'll just be ready to grill out about 75 pounds of hamburgers and hot dogs tomorrow. So we're just grill it up. Mandy talked me out of the ribs. She's like, Clayton, it's too much work. She's right. Man, there ain't nothing better than falling asleep on the couch with some barbecue sauce stain on your shirt. You know what I'm saying, Tim? You got 30 family members hanging out, and I'm snoring on the couch. It don't get no better than that. That's how you break in Easter right there. So, but like I said, though, if you guys celebrate Easter, have a great Easter. And if you're not a Christian like us, and you don't celebrate it, hey, you're welcome on this channel, man. Everybody's welcome, and we're all about trying to create a cool place where everybody can come and get along and learn together and all that good stuff as Packer fans. So we appreciate y'all just as much as we do some of these heathen Christians out here like us. So, but everybody have a great night. Have a happy Easter. Appreciate everybody's time. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of it. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack, go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense. We ask our YN or a tight end to open up somewhere between 6 feet and 9 feet. Get an isolation with the linebacker. We tell the tackle to take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, to drive down on the first man to his inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. If you look at this play, what we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.